Hi guys, it's Candace from Beacon Hill Books. Just a wrap up of a few different books. I read The Northern Lights by Pullman. I read this while I was on vacation on a beach. And it is such a wintry read. And I'm just so glad that I finally started this well-known and loved series because I also really, really loved it. I think this cover is gorgeous. I like how every chapter has a little picture, bright light, in front of it. And I don't think that I probably need to go into too much detail, but we follow a little girl named Lyra, and she's a spunky little thing, and her little journey about her destiny, basically, and her family, and she has to go up north and work together with a fighting polar bear for the greater good. I loved the idea of the daemon. I love that idea that as a child they have a little animal with them as part of them, and the animal can actually change to different animals until they get to a certain age, and then it sticks. So I will definitely be proceeding with this series, and I really, really loved it. It's a great quick read. It's a great winter read. I also finished Origin by Dan Brown. I spoke about this a little bit, but this takes place in Spain, primarily Barcelona, but we start off the book with Robert going to a big show at the Guggenheim Museum in Balboa, Spain. And it's the show of one of his fellow students, who is this extremely brilliant person, creator and futurist. And the museum's curator, Ambra Vidal, she is recently actually engaged to the Spain's prince, and the Spain's king is kind of on his deathbed, and so this student has this great announcement he wants to make, and it involves religion, as Dan Brown's books usually do. And so the Bishop of Spain is a main player in the story as well. It touches on symbols, like always, which I love that, knowing the backstory to a lot of symbols. We learn about William Blake, who was a poet from long ago that actually emphasized science over religion. It talks about Franco and when he was in rule, and how he kind of tied to religion. My favorite parts were around Gaudi and when they were in La Sagrada Familia, which is the big church in Spain that Gaudi designed. It's still under construction. Actually, when I was there, I actually didn't go inside, which, yeah, about that. So I'm going to have to go back when it's finished. But it's this beautiful church that Gaudi designed that he always has. He's kind of based off of nature as an architect. And the story is really following questions: where are we going and where do we come from? And as a human race, entertaining, and you learn something and you don't want to put the book down. So I really enjoyed reading this book. The last book I want to talk about that I just finished was A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. As I said in my currently reading, I really, really enjoyed this book. This was my first reading of Towles' writing, and I can see why he has the fan base he did. At first, I knew this was a historical fiction, and I was not sure as much where the history part of it was, because we're following the Count, Count Alexei Rostov, and he's sort of under house arrest in the Metropole Hotel in Moscow. We start the book right with court notes, and it's basically him being prosecuted because of a poem he created. And that kind of sets the tone. I think there's 6 little books in here. We meet Alexander and we learn what he does with his days all day. He comes from wealth anyways. he starts to have a rhythm and routine in the hotel, and he starts to become a part of the fabric of the hotel. And we learn about the characters that he interacts with the most, especially one little girl named Nina, who gets wrapped up in the political revolution going on in Russia in the early 19th century. He interacts a lot with a certain actress, and he starts working very closely with the cook and making sure, and the maitre d', and making sure that people are seated in the right seating. And this particular fine dinner has the correct wine pairing with it. He has a loyal fan base around him, even people he meets at the bar when they come in that are staying at the hotel. He has great friendships with. And then really by the end of the book, it starts talking more about what's happening in Russia during that time. I don't know a lot about it, and it has piqued my interest for sure. Being friends with Nina, even though she disappears for a while, ends up giving him an unexpected lift in life down the road. And every chapter in this book starts with an A, and I don't know why he did that. I guess I better Google it. But by the end, it starts picking up some steam and really ties in more to the political and historical going on at the time. I really, really did enjoy this. It's not one that I would just like blaze right through. The writing is so descriptive and fun, like funny, that you want to take your time with this book, I think. But I really loved it, and I can't wait to pick up Rules of Civility, if not Towles' other book. Please let me know if you've read this book. I know there's a few other people reading it right now because this was the Blast from the Past pick for the month, and I'm very glad that this was the pick because I had been wanting to read it, and I just kind of didn't have the steam to do it for some reason. It's 466 pages. And one more book that I finished was Upstream Selected Essays by Mary Oliver. This was something really that I don't typically read, and I'm glad I gave it a try because I'm not sure why. I really enjoyed it. I don't know much about Mary Oliver. If you do, let me know. She seems one that wants to walk in the same footsteps as, say, a Thoreau, close with nature. I think most of this book takes place in Providence, Rhode Island, where she seems to live and love. And she's pretty a cool cat. Like, we both like nature. We both like reading. She's really into writing. I will say there was one thing that was a little strange to me when she talked about tasting milk from a cat, which was very Meet the Parents-esque. But I really wanted to highlight all of this book. I'm very glad that I did it through Kindle because there's so many beautiful, beautiful passages. I'll just share a few. So maybe it was the right way after all. If this was lost, let us all be lost always. And this was in regards to child rearing. Give them the fields and the woods and the possibility of the world, salvaged from the lords of profit. Stand them in the stream, head them upstream, rejoice as they learn to live this green space they live in, its sticks and leaves, and then the silent, beautiful blossoms. I liked this one. I learned to build bookshelves and brought books to my room, gathering them around me thickly. I read by day and into the night. I thought about perfectibility and deism, and adjectives and clouds and foxes. I locked my door from the inside and leaped from the roof and went to the woods by day or darkness. I just think that if you like nature writing, you'll really like this book. It's broken up into short little quips. Like I said in a previous update, there are some chapters that are just based on particular authors she likes or was inspired by. But it has a lot to do with her landscape around her as she's living, especially the birds and the fish around Providence. She does live off the land, but she also has a respect for nature. I think I really, really loved this book, and I plan on reading more of hers. If you have any suggestions as to which Mary Oliver I should go to next, please let me know. Let me know if you've read any of these books and if you like them, and if you've any suggestions of other Russian literature I would like to read. Yeah, talk to you soon.